Hi everyone, it's your fairy card maker Lisa here, and in today's video I'm showing you a paper scraps project. These are memo pads that I made. I like to keep some on hand, so these are the ones that are just for me. I'm not going to talk about how I made them, but I do want to talk about what they're made of. If you want to know how to make these pads, there's tons of tutorials online of different ways of making memo pads from scrap papers. So these ones, though, I made with Kleenex boxes. So Kleenex boxes are the covers. I like to use Kleenex boxes because of the weight. If you don't use a Kleenex box, you could use cardstock and then mat it with a patterned paper. So these are all Kleenex boxes, and on the inside, these papers came from office paper, printer paper. It's actually letterhead paper from an office that doesn't exist anymore. I got reams of this stuff when the office stopped existing. It merged with another firm, so the office was moving. And I still have lots of it. I use it in my printer. I use it as scratch paper when I need it to put something under a project. And I use it to make these memo pads. And I can make tons of these memo pads. So I just cut down the paper. It's regular 8.5 by 11 inch paper on my paper cutter and make these pads. The decorations here are all just from scraps. This is actually white paper. I colored it with my Copic markers and then cut out those little leaves because I have tons of white paper scraps, and then made a stamped and punched out design for putting behind it. Little gold scraps I had from a project I did probably a couple years ago. These are chipboard hearts. I was just testing how well Nouveau embellishment mousse covers chipboard, and it's very well. These were bits that I had punched out, and I just kept them in my little punch out holder from other projects, and I didn't end up using those particular pieces. And then these two Kleenex boxes were just so pretty, I didn't want to put anything else on them, especially this one. I wish I could find more boxes with this pattern on it because it's so pretty. So these ones in these baskets here, I made for Administrative Professionals Day as little thank you favors for my colleagues. I hope they like them. I think that they're a useful product. You can keep them by the phone. You can put magnet on the back and put them on the fridge. I like to use them for making grocery lists, so they're really handy to have around. So this one, the pattern is kind of busy. I have another one with this pattern right here. So this was the first one I did, and I wanted to make the sentiment stand out, so I chose a really big one, and then I cut it out 3 times and layered it up so it has some thickness, and hopefully that would make it stand out. The sequins matched the type of rainbow stuff going on, but they really got swallowed up in the pattern. So for this one, I used vellum, and the vellum tones down the pattern behind so that the thing on top can stand out. I made this coffee mug from a snow globe die. It's the window part that cuts out. I just cut off the bottom, shortened it a little bit, and added a die cut handle from another die set that I have. I also made these dots. These are perler beads, which are designed to melt. Sometimes they're called melty beads. There's different brands. Perler is the brand. And you melt them in the oven, and you get this dimensional sort of half-back pearl shape. It's a little bit too thick for cards, I think, so I also experimented with making my own enamel dots. Now these ones, let's see if you can see the thickness. These ones I did, this one's nail polish with glossy accents on top. So glossy accents is a dimensional glue. It dries clear and raised. Mine is really old, years old, so mine does have a bit of a yellow tinge to it, but when you put it on top of a strong enough color, it doesn't really make a difference, and they're nice and much flatter than these perler bead ones, so these ones I could use on cards in the mail. But these ones are perfect for projects like this, where dimension doesn't matter, and I love the rainbow effect, how these perler beads matched my rainbow Kleenex box pretty much perfectly. So you saw this one as well. Just scattered some enamel dots and tiny little die cut butterflies. These pieces are supposed to fall out, and I could have popped them out, but when they came out of my die, they were in, and I really liked the sort of inlay look that they have. Now my enamel dots, I had to cut them out by hand, so they're not perfect circles like a manufactured circle would be, but you know, when they're scattered on a project like this, you wouldn't notice unless you really examine them and compare them to something else. So it's great. Another one of the mugs. This time I put a doily on it. This is a happy message that's matted on a metallic paper. Another mug, a strip of glitter paper, just scrap. This box, I was really pleased with how well my paper matched. This is actually a metallic kind of sheen on the paper as well as the body. I put the wings up on foam tape so it would have some dimension. And then the little smile message below. It just matched perfectly to the paper. Here's another dragonfly. This is an AccuCut Craft die, by the way. I thought that the same yellow metallic sheen paper matched the yellow tones in the Kleenex box. Another mug, another set of homemade enamel dots. This one was with gold nail polish. I used my loose glitter to matte the sentiment here. I used a lot of stuff that I don't normally reach for in this project, which made it really fun. More of my little melty beads. They just happened to match the color of this mug. I colored this mug for something else and didn't use it. So I just pulled stuff that I had lying around and put together these memo pads. Again, I used vellum behind the sentiment here. The sentiment is with a nice metallic purple paper. And then I used a button and a bird. The bird was from, I think it was the Dollar Tree. It had foam tape behind it, but the foam tape wasn't very strong, so I pulled it off and put my own foam tape there to make sure the bird stays on. I have some smaller pads here. This one I like because it could be masculine. I thought I needed to make some that were sort of gender neutral. This one, these are also dots that I made. These are the perler beads, but I coated it with the glitter nail polish and then I sealed it with floor varnish. So hopefully the floor varnish will prevent the nail polish from cracking and flaking off. And then there's a strip of metallic black paper to ground the sentiment. Another mug. This one was made with glitter turquoise paper. Again, it was a scrap, and I think that was my very last scrap of that paper. Another mug with a doily. I love this sentiment. It came in the set that had the coffee mug that I showed you, so this coffee mug. For a notepad, the sentiment is perfect. Espresso yourself. Some mirror twins here, just different colors on the sentiments. Again, using some scraps from the gold scraps from a project I did a couple of years ago. And then some more loose glitter that I put in the flower here. And then some taller, skinnier ones. Another one of the birds from Dollar Tree, I think it was, on a scrap of beautiful glitter paper and a happy sentiment. Another version with a circle. This one I used sequins, a die cut branch, and separate die cut leaves from a different set and mixed them all together and stamped a little bird to go in it. I tried to pick colors that would blend with the background. I kind of wanted it to look like a jungle, but I think it actually blends a little too much. It's kind of hard to make out the branch very well, but that's okay. I do have a few coworkers with family abroad. So if I was thinking of these as keeping them by the telephone, you know, if you don't want to keep them yourself, I thought it would make a cute little favor to send to the person on the other end of the line. Now, these are supposed to have little dot eyes like this. I used my Nuvo black drops to make the eyes stand out after I had colored. But this one, it splooged out. So one of the eyeballs ended up being big, and I had to make the other one big to match. I think on its own it looks really cute, a little bit more cartoony, but it was supposed to look like this. I have a couple of coworkers who love elephants. I love elephants too, and these gray Kleenex boxes just spoke to me for that. Again, I used the vellum behind the sentiment here to make sure that it was nice and readable, and some white sequins. I used more loose glitter on this flower. And then I used some distressed stickles instead of dots for these ones. You still get dimension and glitter as just a different type. and then loose glitter on the sentiment there. Now these last two I wanted to show you, I didn't have the Kleenex box wide enough to cover the entire front of the memo pad. So these two are actually one piece of cardstock matted with the Kleenex box. So if you don't have Kleenex boxes to be your covers, that's fine. You can use cardstock and then mat it with a piece of pattern paper and then use your scraps to decorate it. So those were my projects. I enjoyed making them. I think they're handy. I'm sure I will make more, and I hope you were inspired. Thanks for watching.